Hello and welcome, everyone. It is time to enter the Kumite. This is not a sport. I repeat, this is not a sport. You don't play fight. I'm joined today by my friend and fellow colleague, Armando Urinia, and our technical engineer, the 940 Ninja himself, Sean Myers. Today, we will be discussing the latest Kumite gossip. But first, if you enjoy the content we're creating, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Don't be afraid, guys, to hit that little bell icon either. That way you can stay up to date with the latest Kumite gossip. Okay, Armando, I have to ask, how did you get into MMA? Like, what intrigued you or got you attracted to it?
It was in high school where I started watching stuff. I think the first big fight I followed was the Anderson Silva Chris Weidman one.
The second one or the
rematch? Second one, actually.
Oh,
the
where he snapped
one,
his shin bone?
Yeah, because at the time he was like the perennial goat or whatever.
He was it, yeah.
He was kind of like the goat
man.
that everyone, and the big talking point. And that happened. That was kind of wild. And then you kind of start following the news, following them, because at the time I wasn't watching the actual shows because no money. I wasn't going to do that. Pay for the pay-per-views or anything. And then it was also I got interested in training around that time, or starting to train, and so then of course you kind of get interested in watching the product itself. And
right.
In college I kind of found my group of friends where we watch the cards every month, and either would do it at someone's apartment or go to a local sports bar, and yeah.
Nice. Have you ever trained anywhere?
Yeah, so I started training right after high school, actual MMA training, and then I did some MMA training in college. My last couple years in college, I actually did jiu-jitsu,
Strictly
full time.
jiu-jitsu?
Yeah. Managed to get my blue belt. Haven't really been able to keep up with it. Life has kind of taken me in a different direction. That just hasn't been a priority.
Right.
So unfortunately, I'm one of those statistics where you get your blue belt and then you kind of disappear from the gym. But statistics better than being a white belt who disappeared. But is life, Hey. But I at least got, I think, the core stuff that I needed out of it. And if I get the chance, I definitely would go back.
Oh, by the time you get to blue belt, that is knowledge that you can take with you.
Yeah.
For the rest of your life.
I think it was kind of why
you'll know not to flail like a fish off your back. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of why I went at least that far, because I'm okay, if I at least have this much, this is a lot more than other people.
Yeah, and that's in the toolbox.
Yeah, exactly.
Forever,
at this point,
go.
It's more I should probably go to an open gym or something every year, 6 months or something, just to knock off some of the rust.
Right.
Yeah, I don't like getting hit in the face. It hurts a lot. So I was let me not do that, and I like my brain cells where they are.
Right.
So, I figured jiu-jitsu seems like it'd be pretty valuable.
Kind of artistic style of
martial
arts.
Yeah, that, and, you can
graceful.
train a lot harder. And, if anything, even when you're fighting someone who doesn't, know what they're doing, they always have a puncher's chance, even if, you know what you're doing. But if it's, on the ground, you take it to the ground. At that point, it's whoever knows what they're doing is going to be the one
that is very true. So, yeah. I mean, I will say, if at the end of the day, if you know what you're doing and someone bum rushes you, you should get out of the way. You should do this.
Yeah, my first reaction
when adrenaline kicks in, people are very strong and very fast for a very short amount of time. But yeah, I see that. I mean, it's a safe one.
Yeah.
It's very flowy, very graceful technique to learn. I think that's a great starting point for I suggest for mothers and fathers to take their kids. If you're going to start your kid off with anything, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, they're going to learn discipline. They're going to learn how to avoid confrontations rather than embrace it and have something to prove, because they already know in their head, they have that sense of confidence and that sense of I know myself when it comes down to A, B, and C. I know I can do this and that, instead of questioning that and just saying, well, I'll see red when things happen and people start dropping, But yeah, that's amazing. Thank you for being here today, Armando.
Yeah,
so what we'll be discussing today, we didn't have a UFC card this week. That really
I'm kind of relieved because if there was, I would have missed it.
Oh,
because I was not.
Armando's busy, guys. Yeah. No, but it is. I don't know. We've been spoiled, with everything that happened with COVID and everything. UFC stepping up and saying we're going to buy an entire island, and we're going to, set up fights for you guys, keep the sport realm moving, and brought in a lot of new eyes because, okay, I usually watch football, but football's not doing anything. So I'm going to watch people beat the crap out of each other in a cage now.
They actually bought the island, right? Like it was the Fight Island thing?
I think they rented the island from
rented
Abu Dhabi,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I think it was actually already, because I overestimated how much they had to do, but I think it was already constructed and everything. I thought UFC bought an island and said, we're creating a stadium here for the people to enjoy.
Make our own country.
Right.
Just a country of fighters. Actually, that'd be kind of cool. I'd like to see that.
I mean, if they ended up seceding and doing their own thing, and then they raised this like race of like superhumans of like all the different colors and just from all over the world, and they're making babies there. I mean, what is that gonna do?
It'd be quite the experiment.
It would be like they're It like for the Dagestanians, like, you have wrestling and you got militant Islam. Like, what do you want to go with? Not that's what the fighters would be like. Okay, you got one sport or the military, dude. What do you want to do? It's like, Okay, so we actually have a really exciting fight coming up. Conor versus Poirier 3. And we're not casuals, but this is still an exciting fight because now we have a little spiciness to it. I predicted Conor to come out and knock Poirier out in the second round. That's what I predicted in the last fight. Poirier surprised me. And a lot of people are saying like that Conor lost his he lost his greatness and he was in his head. Well, it's hard for some people to accept the fact that the more popular fighter lost. I hate that what's the word I'm looking for? I don't appreciate when people make claims like that because Conor's not just more talented. Conor won the fight. Conor's very talented, but people believe that just because a fighter has a lot of clout, and they're very popular, that it's a matter of them not being great that night, not believing in themselves, and it's like, no, this is conscious body versus a conscious body. There's so many aspects that go into that, but I gotta ask, what's your pick in this rematch?
Well, it's kind of hard to say. Conor, and coming back from losses, right? We've seen him make his adjustments and pull out, and he's kind of the same thing with the Nate Diaz fight, where he's taking the L, but he's turning that around. He's learning from it, and I think he's back to the trash talking. Because he said he was, I think his words was he's going to fucking destroy him. I'm pretty sure those were his words.
I could definitely see that happening.
I could be wrong there, but he definitely is. I think he might be getting back to that.
I feel like Poirier's chin's gotten better, but he's been in some wars.
Yeah.
But he took some of Conor's best shots in this rematch. And Conor was expecting to put him away in that first round. And Conor caught him with some good ones. I wouldn't say his best shot. He didn't get him with the straight left, especially when the momentum's changing and right in the center. Like, I caught all of your momentum coming forward, and I put all my momentum on your chin.
Yeah.
He didn't get him with that, but he did get him with some really nice slip inside uppercuts. Conor loves to do that, slip in on the lead hand and then throw that uppercut because it's really quirky because most people don't do that because you're vulnerable to the hook.
What the adjustments he's supposed to make? What do you think they'll be? Because my understanding with the fight is that he lost because he lost his base. He got kicked in the legs a lot and lost his base. That may have affected his power in the second round. And then if Poirier is able to take his hits, then at that point it's just a matter of finishing the job there. So what do you think? With knowing that, I would think he's going to try to get better with the kick defense, try and getting better at checking kicks.
Right.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. Their training camp's going to focus a lot this time on checking kicks, and I guarantee you he's going to come out with lighter footwork. And a lot of people are saying that, he lost that fight almost purely because of kicks, but that's just not the case. Like, yes, the calf kicks were a huge contributing factor to Conor slowing down, Conor not being springy, but Conor hasn't been springy lately. Conor's been very stocky boxer, and he's just leaning on his strength. That's what he's doing. But he needs to mix it back up. I think their training camp's going to focus on trying to get out of the way of those and then counter with the jump in straight or maybe a jab.
Was he kicking a lot in that?
In the rematch? No.
Well, no.
In the first fight, he used to throw a lot of spinning.
Well, that's the thing, because he was a big kicker too. Like, I don't know if it's not representative of reality necessarily, but like in the UFC games, Conor's kicks are pretty, can be pretty devastating. That's really part of mixed martial arts. It's part of his game. But I think with the Floyd Mayweather fight and the boxing there,
yeah,
that may have he may have like forgotten to do that or like lost some of that, and maybe he's got to incorporate that back into his game.
Yeah. So Connor's kicks, they're really well placed. They're very fast. It's a very unorthodox style. The way he does it, a lot of people don't see it coming. But I feel like he doesn't deliver the most power with the kicks. He has a prodding kind of style when it comes to his legs, and it's always something to think about. I'm stomping your knee. I'm spinning back kick to the body. I'm throwing a winging head kick, but you think it's my power hand. So I feel like Connor felt like he wasn't going to get finishes from that. But Connor has the kind of power and the precision to not have to lean on his power. He can set it up, in many ways. And he only gave Poirier 3 to 4 things to think about in that fight. And that's why Poirier is like, okay, well, I'm going to focus on kicking your legs. I'm going to focus on timing your slip-in uppercut with this left hook. And, Poirier is doing a really good job in his southpaw stance because Poirier will switch. And I feel like that ended up giving Connor a lot of problems. And in the first fight, Poirier's leg kicks gave Connor problems. But Connor just got him out of there quick enough. Poirier's not cutting an extra 10 pounds anymore. He's feeling a little fresher, but he's been in some wars. I really do see Poirier getting clipped this time and Connor finishing up.
Yeah.
But Connor just got knocked out. And he's coming back. He's not taking as much time off as I would suggest him to. I would say push it back
just for like
3
recovery.
months. Right, exactly. You were concussed from that, and Poirier hits hard. So, I don't know. I could see Connor winning that fight, but Poirier has every right to take it. Poirier should be fighting for a title. Poirier should be, and he definitely had that offer. But they offered him Connor, red panty night, and they offered him, a title shot. And he's like, no, I'm gonna beat Connor again. That's a smart move. Yeah, he's thinking late game.
What is it? When does it happen? It's in the summer. Is it
I don't have the exact date here for whatever reason. I didn't come prepared, but I believe it's within 2 months. Hold on.
Yeah, I'm assuming they're doing it in Vegas.
They have to.
Yeah.
They keep trying to do it in other places, but Dana and all the money fights, it's like, no, it has to be in Vegas.
There's some mafia guy in Vegas who's like, no, you don't. You come here. For realism. They haven't done a stadium fight in Ireland. They haven't done a fight in Dallas in the Cowboys Stadium, which both things they probably should have done by now.
Well, I think the next one's down in Houston. So Dana White was really adamant on trying to get the UFC to come to Texas after Texas lowered the mask mandates, because Dana White's pretty political, and he's pretty open about his politics. So he wants to make a point about the whole COVID thing. And
well, it was kind of him opening up an island. I think.
Exactly. He went out of his way to prove his point. He went out of his way
that we can still do this sport.
The thing about Dana,
it worked.
Exactly.
It worked, so
that's exactly what I was going to say.
The
thing about Dana is people might want to start talking crap, but that man makes genius moves, and when he sticks by his stubbornness, it just keeps working out for him. So it's kind of funny to watch the people. Okay, so. They're fighting in May. Oh wow, I thought it would.
Really, May? That's like a 3-month turnaround, then something like that.
I think it's about 4.
4 months.
But yeah, I feel like they're gonna be training for it. I don't want to just be someone. I don't want to seem like a casual who just one of those Connor dick riders. I'm not. I think he's good though, and I think now he's being underestimated. Losing to Poirier does not lose anybody any credibility. Poirier's shown that he's gotten better, and he's one of the best in the world. It just goes to show how dominant Khabib is, that he could dominantly beat all of these people.
Yeah, just barely broke a sweat.
Yeah.
Really disappointed we never got that Ferguson fight.
Okay, so what else is coming up soon? Well, we had a Marvin Vettori and Darren Till fight coming up, and I was looking forward to that. See where the middleweight division kind of pans out. Israel Adesanya's been gone. Who's going to challenge him next? Marvin Vettori has fought Adesanya earlier in Adesanya's career, and he lost a decision. And it wasn't crazy dominant. Adesanya was obviously precise, great footwork, and he definitely won the fight. It was convincing that he won the fight. But Marvin Vettori's tough, and an extra 2 rounds could do him good, especially if he can impose some wrestling on him. But we've seen that Adesanya's got great cardio for being as fast and long and as explosive as he is. So I don't think cardio is really going to play an issue in that. But
You
obviously,
think the winner of
we're
this might end
just
up challenging him?
It's very possible. It's very possible. They're giving Kevin Holland just recently fought against Derek Brunson and lost a 5-round decision. That's a month ago. And now he's turning around to fight Marvin Vettori this weekend. I do have Vettori winning this. I don't know if you want to put your 2 cents in the hat.
I'll just follow you in this one.
Yeah, I got Vettori winning by a decision.
Well, do you know who the Vegas favorite is?
I don't. Whoa. Threat detected. Get off of this.
That'll be.
I feel like
that tells a story too, but
yeah. I feel like Kevin Holland's gonna do something similar to what he did in Brunson fight. I think Vettori is gonna work his way on the inside, and he's gonna grapple with him. He's gonna take him down. He's gonna kind of control him, and Kevin Holland's gonna do really cool, crafty stuff on his back, not take much damage.
Do you think it'll be a good fight?
I think it will, especially if Marvin Vettori has that moment where he just kind of wants to prove how good his stand-up's getting. I think that would make it a lot of fun. And, it's really fun to watch Kevin Holland off his back anyway, even if he's losing, just because he's so creative down there.
Yeah. I don't know if it doesn't look like they've been updated for the new matchup, at least not from what I'm seeing.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Although Vettori looks like was the favorite before Till dropped out, so I would assume.
Yeah. I actually had Till. I was predicting Till was going to win a 3-round decision just because he's really fast and he's evasive. Till's biggest weakness is his offensive mindset. He keeps his chin straight up and he doesn't move it off the center line. But he's got power, and he's fast. And I feel like Till defensively is technically very sound. And I felt like Till was going to do enough from the outside, kind of dance around, not finish Vettori, but grind out a decision. But yeah, that would have been awesome. I'm a big Till believer. I felt like his ego just got checked like twice in a row. Once against Tyron Woodley, getting caught clean and then getting choked out, and that was his big championship opportunity. And then, of course, getting knocked out by Jorge Masvidal really badly. But, I take nothing away from him. But, yeah, I got Vettori winning this fight. I think Kevin Holland's just a little bit too accepting of grappling transitions and when he doesn't need to be because he's long and he's fast. And he has decent footwork. He's just – what I saw in the Derek Brunson fight was him overcommitting to deliver his power, him putting himself out of position, and then him being okay with being on his back against him.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if you're right next week. We'll see if you have a track record of –
right,
predicting things, and you can tell
going,
people
baby.
take the over, take the under. Believe me.
So we didn't have a UFC card this weekend, but we did have a Bellator card. It was a really good Bellator card. I made sure to watch through it because always scouting out new talent, and I gotta say, I am all about Patricio Pitbull. Now, him and his brother Patricky Pitbull are both great fighters, but Patricio really is setting himself, apart from the rest. He's the Bellator champion of the lightweight, and I think he's also the featherweight. Let me just double check. But we just had a fight come over from Bellator. Michael Chandler knocked out number 5 Dan Hooker, and then now is going to fight for the title against Charles Oliveira. If he beats Oliveira, which is very realistic, then we're seeing the level of competition that's in Bellator. And Patricio very dominantly beat Michael Chandler. So I want to see this happen. I would love to see
It'd be a shake-up to the
crossover
norms.
fights.
All of a sudden, it's like, well, you actually then have to test which organization's fighters are the best.
Right.
Because
that's what we want.
You can't assume UFC. For us, that's what we want, right? Dana White's like,
oh, they're good? They think they're really good? Okay, yeah, get them in here. Let me see.
Yeah, do you find the Bellator product overall to be, not the product, but the fighters themselves to be comparable to the UFC fighters? Or
Well, I hate to say this because it's going to sound really, pretentious. It's going to sound condescending. But a lot of the Bellator fighters, the big ones, are UFC hand-me-downs. The ones that couldn't quite cut it in UFC, and Bellator's like, we'll take them. I mean, Scott Coker is just like trying to hustle. He's trying to make that money. Oh, they got to have a name? As long as they have a name, like, we'll take them. Yeah, I don't care if they're 0-4 in the UFC. Like, we'll take them. But yeah, I feel like as a general rule, Bellator fighters aren't quite on the same level as a lot of the top 15 of the UFC, but there are definitely exceptions in the Bellator that I feel could be very competitive in UFC. Mm-hmm. Patricio Pitbull being one of them, in either weight division, featherweight or lightweight. He could do very well in both because he's actually small for a lightweight. Mm-hmm. He has more of a like that stocky featherweight frame. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm really excited for this. He just recently had a fight against Emmanuel Sanchez. It was a rematch. He defeated him in the first round with an arm-out guillotine.
Oh, okay.
And he caught him, too. He caught him clean. It was one of the punches. It was one of those hooks that just graze across the chin, and you can see it just clicks it out of place. Oh, man, it was nasty. And then he jumped on it and finished him. So he's good everywhere. Mm-hmm. He's got good wrestling, good striking to wrestling transitions. He's got crazy power in his hands, powerful kicks, and he's always, it seems like he's a step ahead of most of the fighters, and he's just slowly separating himself more and more.
You think this is a guy to watch out for, then the UFC will be making noise?
I want to see that crossover fight, or I want to see him to come to the UFC. One of the two. And he's got a big fight that he's already scheduled. Bellator does this weird thing after the fights where they bring in the next opponent and they talk smack to each other in the octagon, but they're still doing the 6-foot rule for mask mandates. So there's big John McCarthy in a freaking tux, standing next to him, standing away from him, and then they have a camera, on a long pole, and then they have some guy just walk in dressed up in the octagon. So the setup's just
not doing that for a year. They just insisted we're gonna make this work, and we're just gonna do the most awkward stuff possible.
Yeah, it's cringy. It was really cringy to watch.
That's the type of thing they take from pro wrestling. Because in
pro wrestling, WWE, yeah,
because that's the type of thing where they know who they want to fight after, and then in their case, it's easy because they know who's winning, right?
Right.
And then UFC did this once with the Brock Lesnar Cormier thing, where Lesnar came into the ring and pushed him, and there was a whole
I know exactly what
and
you're
then nothing
about.
Came of it because Lesnar was just doing that to prop up his next contract. It was just for show. But
yeah, and I
that's
just
where they get that kind of stuff.
Lesnar even standing a chance in that fight against Cormier.
Yeah,
Cormier does everything better, literally everything. Brock cannot take a punch.
Yeah, Cormier is one of those the pinnacle of don't judge a book by its cover.
Exactly.
You see that?
Yeah.
You see him on the
don't
street.
Mess with a dad bod.
Yeah, you see him on the street, you'd be like, this is just a washed up guy or whatever. If you didn't know who he was, and
I feel like as soon as you touched him, you'd realize how dense he is.
Yeah.
You think he's flabby, and you're that's made of iron. You clearly fought your whole life.
You might be eating hamburgers, but they're being put to good work.
Right. I will say one thing that's really cool about the Bellator setup is they do bracket tournaments, kind of like that old school Dragon Ball Z Cell games kind of setup.
They did that with the heavyweight fight where they had Chael Sonnen and a couple other ex-UFC.
They have a
guys
Grand Prix.
Yeah.
So that's how he knew he was going to fight AJ McKee no matter what. Even if they have to reschedule it, they're not going to fill someone in there.
Yeah, so he's just waiting because he's fighting the winner of the fight. So
right.
I would say, even ignoring the wrestling part of it, that makes sense. It's usually when it's a guy who's coming out of nowhere, there's not a natural fight there, but because he's a big star or whatever, you throw it in there. I like tournaments.
It's a cool feel to it.
I like the feel. It works in every other sport. The issue with MMA is that of the time, because the breaks these guys
flexibility. The UFC's we'll make a big fight if you guys have a name or you guys have built credibility. We'll make the big fight whenever. What happens if they have a fight scheduled for 6 months in Bellator and someone has to pull out? Now the other fighter just has to wait, I guess, or maybe they get a little early pay or something. I'm not sure exactly how the system would be.
So it's one of those things where it's it just doesn't quite, grappling on its own, which is a huge sport. It would be great. Tournament formats would work great there, but
right, exactly.
Because even assuming no one gets hurt, you still need all that time for. Not even forget the training, just for rest, the concussions and things like that. So.
Yeah, you said WWE, and Bellator also does theirs differently, where it's not the boxing style where they come from opposite sides of the octagon and you go down a little serpent-like path. No, in Bellator, they come out, to their song and their light set up, and they kind of parade around the front, but they all come from the front, just like WWE. That's all I could think about when these Bellator fighters are coming out, where they like pace back and forth to their song and they're kind of grooving.
Yeah.
It was I couldn't take it seriously.
Yeah, there was a
sad.
smaller like pro wrestling organization. I think it was on the same TV network for a few years, and I think there was some crossover there. And I'm pretty sure that's probably where they like.
Yeah, they kind of want that, like, this is a big deal energy.
Yeah, and they do that, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. You get, it's I don't know. Obviously, it's working enough for Bellator, but it's not enough to beat the UFC. So
right. Speaking of other fight leagues, we got the Professional Fighters League, the PFL. Now, I had to make a special mention because this is something I'm really looking forward to. Claressa Shields, multi-divisional champion, multiple organization champion, female boxer, is coming over to MMA. We haven't seen her debut yet, but she's going to be making her debut in the Professional Fighters League. And this is exciting because if she can come over and perform well in MMA, which she does have a big fight on the horizon for her is Kayla Harrison. She's the current lightweight champion of PFL. If she can do well and then beat Kayla Harrison, I immediately see after that fight a super fight with Amanda Nunes. Now, can you imagine if either of those women win? If Amanda wins, she's beaten all the people she's already beat, already the double GOAT.
Two-division GOAT.
And then to beat the greatest female boxer of all time, cemented herself as the baddest woman on the planet. However, if Claressa Shields, a dominant champion in boxing, comes over to MMA, a whole new game, and wins, and she beats Amanda Nunes,
that's a much bigger deal.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, no, that would be way bigger because Nunes on her own has that edge with the format because we don't see it a lot because of how good her striking is. But
right, she's a great grappler.
Yeah, she's Brazilian.
I think that would be my prediction. Is that she would use her advantages in MMA to win that fight.
Yeah, I feel like the only thing that would go wrong is that she would test her striking. Right, and then
Claressa Shields would win that striking.
Yeah, but then she would
in my opinion,
her ego would she would test it, but then she would stick around too long or doesn't adjust quickly. It's like, oh yeah, I can't beat her standing up, so let's take her down.
Yeah,
and she gets caught.
Or at least throw kicks from the outside.
Yeah, or she's gonna transition, but then she still gets caught before she has a chance to switch. I could see if she loses, that's probably
Shields is going to work on that uppercut timing.
Yeah.
Now the uppercut's dangerous because now you're vulnerable to an overhand, and you do not want to take Amanda Nunes' overhands. But I do ultimately see, and this is way too, we have to see Claressa Shields in MMA, way too early. But I think no matter how good she gets at MMA, she's always been a boxer. That's who she is. That's what she grew up with. I think Amanda Nunes would use her mixed martial arts advantages. However, if she can't take her down, if Claressa Shields gets good enough on her takedown defense, and she's very powerful. I don't know if she's stronger than Nunes. Nunes is very strong too. I don't know who's more powerful, but they're both very powerful. If she can get her takedown defense down, I could see Claressa Shields winning that fight. Otherwise, I would probably pick Nunes, but we have to see her in MMA.
Yeah, we'll see how she does with the PFL and how it develops. Apparently, they work with ESPN. I'm guessing they're pretty new. So we'll see how.
It's clear that they were invested in.
Yeah,
all that upfront money before they even made.
It could also just be one of those lower organizations that are designed to be fed into a UFC or a Bellator.
That could be true. Maybe it's a UFC side project, but it's when they have a gas station across the street and they have a different name, but they're both owned by the same person.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of exciting things to look forward to, even when we do miss a UFC card.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, with that, we will wrap up our thoughts on the latest Kumite gossip. I'd like to thank you, Armando, for being here and sharing your thoughts with us. I'd like to thank our technical engineer, the 940 Ninja himself, Sean Myers. I'd also like to thank the fighters for going up there on the world stage and laying it all on the line. You guys are warriors, and we're working hard to shed just a little bit of light on the incredible things you do. Lastly, but certainly not least, I'd like to thank everyone who entered the Kumite with us here today. Remember, this is not a sport. You don't play fight. Stay gold, Pony Boy.